All right, we're looking at solving quadratics by completing the square. So feel free to use this video as I will not be there for 6th and 7th period today. But when completing the square, this kind of gives us just an idea of what we're looking at. You're making a square with all the parts, so the x squared you have 4 x's, and then what is remaining is your c value here, which was 4 ones. Okay, so how it looks here, you have x squared plus 6x plus 9. Well, these happen to be perfect squares, so half of 6 equals 3, and then 3 squared equals 9. So if you remember back to perfect squares, when you had something like x plus 3 squared, you had x squared, the two 3's, you're going to have 2 of those, so that's plus 3x plus 9, because 3 times 3, so x plus 3 squared is the same as x plus 3 times x plus 3. All right, you get 9 from multiplying the two numbers, and then you get 3x when multiplying the others, which gives you the x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, this is going to be the same thing. The only thing that's different here is that it's x minus 3, because we're going to get a negative 3 and a negative 3x to give us that negative 6 right here. But the negative times the negative is going to give us a positive 9. Okay, likewise here, half of 8 is 4. 4 squared equals 16. So this perfect square would be x plus 4 squared. Okay, the other one, same thing. The only difference is this minus, so now it's going to be an x minus 4 squared. Okay, and then on these next two, same thing. Half of our b value equals 5. 5 squared equals 25. So here our factors would be x plus 5 squared, or x plus 5 times x plus 5. And once again, on the right side here, it's going to be the same thing, just x minus 5 now, because of the minus in between the x squared and the b value. Okay, so what you're going to be doing here, you're going to be looking for whatever that c value needs to be. To find that c value, it gives you this information right here. C is equal to b divided by 2 squared. Your b value is always that middle value in front of your x term. So half of 6 equals 3. 3 squared equals 9. So c equals 9. Okay, and you'll notice these are the same thing here. So this is a negative, so all that means is it's negative 3 squared. Well, negative 3 is going to give us a positive 9 as well. Okay, likewise on the next one, half of 8 is equal to 4. 4 squared equals 16. And you'll get the same thing over here. Half of your b value here is negative 4. Well, negative 4 squared is equal to positive 16. Okay, and likewise on the last one here, half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is equal to 25. So c would be your 25 would be your c value, sorry. Okay, so those are all going. And likewise here, same thing. Your c is going to equal 25. Okay, so you can use this combined with square root to solve equations. So here it tells us, solve by completing the square. Step 1, move the constant to the other side of the equation. Well, our constant's right here. It's a plus 1. So to move it to the other side, we minus 1. So then we're left with x squared plus 4x. going to leave some space there, is equal to negative 1. Now it says find the c to make a perfect square trinomial. Well, that's half of our b. So 4 divided by 2 equals 2. That squared equals 4. So we're going to add 4. And what we do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, and so that's where this add c to both sides is. Then it says solve. Solve by factoring. So I know since this is a perfect square, this right here, I can rewrite that as x plus 2 squared. Okay, because it makes a perfect square. And so x plus 2 times x plus 2 will give us this x squared plus 4x plus 4. So we know that is equal to 3. Okay, so now like we did yesterday, solving using square root, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to take the square root and the square root. So that's going to give us x plus 2 is equal to the square root of 3. And remember, this is a plus or minus square root of 3. Okay, so we're still not done because we haven't isolated x. We will do that by minusing 2 to both sides. So we're left with x equals, now we're going to have two solutions here because there's the negative 2 plus the square root of 3. And then there's also the x is equal to negative 2 minus the square root of 3. So those will give me my answers. And on the assignment, if it wants it in whole numbers or in decimals rounded, then you just plug that into your calculator and it will kick out your solution. Just make sure to note where it wants you to round your answers to. Okay, so once again, same thing. Want to solve by completing the squares. We're going to follow these steps right here. So first one, we want to move the constant to the other side. So that is our 100. So that leaves us with x squared plus 10x. There's going to be a c value there, and we're going to say that's equal to 100. Okay, find our c values. So c is equal to 10 divided by 2 squared. Well, that's equal to 5 squared, which is equal to 25. So we're going to add the 25 in here in place of our c. Once again, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And so now we've got x squared plus 10x plus 25 is equal to 125. Okay, so this I know is a perfect square. It's going to be x, and since they're both plus whatever the square root of 25 is, which is 5, so that's x plus 5 squared is equal to 125. Okay, now to isolate x, first we have to take the square root of both sides. That's going to leave us with x plus 5 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 125. Now here we can simplify this. 25 is the greatest common factor that goes into 125. So the square root of 25 is 5. That leaves us with 5 times the square root of 5. Okay, now we still aren't finished because we need to isolate x. So we are going to minus 5 to both sides. So now x is equal to negative 5 plus 5 square root 5. And x is equal to negative 5 minus 5 square root 5. Okay, so this lays out the steps that you're going to take to solve by completing the square. Okay, so refer back to these notes as you go through those steps. Also on the assignment today, they do have a list of more examples and just show you other steps to take on there. This last one, you'll notice our a value here is no longer a 1, so we have to get rid of that first going through here. So move the constant to the other side of the equation. Okay, so we want to add 20 to both sides. Okay, this is going to give us a 2x squared minus 10x is equal to 28. Okay, it says find the c value. However, before we do that, we need to factor out this a, so that's only 1. So we're going to divide everything by 2. So that's going to leave us with x squared minus 5x is equal to, well, 28 divided by 2. That is going to give us 14. Okay, so now this is where it might get a little tricky, and you're going to want to try and convert it. I'm going to leave it in fraction form. Okay, so we need to find c, which is half of our b value. Okay, and then we're going to square that. Well, half of the b value is negative 5 over 2, which is going to give us a negative 2.5. I'm going to leave it as negative 5 over 2 because I know all I have to do is square each one of the top and the bottom here. So this is going to equal 25 over 4. So I'm going to put in 25 over 4 here and 25 over 4 here. Okay, so now I can solve. I know that x squared minus 5x plus 25 fourths is going to be x. Oops, it's going to be minus because of this. Oops. Because that is a minus in front of the b value. So this is just going to be minus 5/2 squared is equal to, now to add these together I need a common denominator, so I have to times the 14 by 4, which is going to give me 40 plus 16, so 56. So this is 56 fourths plus 25 fourths. Okay, so when I add those together, that's going to give me 56 plus 25, so that's going to be 75 plus 6, so 81. Okay, so x minus 5/2 squared is equal to 81. Nope, 81 over 4. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay, now what'll be nice is all this on the right side is going to cancel out. So, well, the square root's going to go away. Sorry, not cancel out. So this is going to give us x minus 5/2 is equal to, well, the square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 4 is 2. So this is just is equal to 9/2. Okay, and that is a plus or minus because it is the square root. Okay, so now that we have that, our last step to isolate x, we're going to add 5/2 to both sides. So let me bring that down. So this is x is equal to 5/2 plus 9/2, which is going to give us 14/2, which equals 7. Or x is equal to 5/2 minus 9/2, which is equal to negative 4/2 or equal to negative 2. Okay, so there we went through those steps. So the only thing that's different when a is not 2, is not 1, then you have to divide that value by every other term in the equation. And then you can solve. All right, and that is it for factoring squares. Like I said, review this, use these steps listed here on the side. Also refer to the notes with the assignment in CK12 if you need further instructions.